Transparent HR podcast, where we aim to empower individuals with transparent HR insights, fostering career opportunities, and navigating workplace success for all. Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Prince Tate. This is the first episode that you are listening to, and we are so excited to start it with you listening to this podcast. Today, we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us in today's podcast. We're going to be learning about what this podcast is all about, as well as why did your host, me, Prince Tate, why did I choose the field of human resources? So we want to go ahead and get this thing started. I want to introduce our guest today. He is none other than Joshua Tate, my brother. Yes, my blood-born brother. He's going to be helping us out today on this first podcast episode. So let me go ahead and introduce who he is and what he's all about. Joshua Tate is a dynamic professional as a creative director and chief media officer at Golden Gate Cathedral and Star Academy Charter Schools, while also being an entrepreneur. He runs multiple businesses in transportation, media production, content creation, and investment. Married with 3 children, Joshua started his first business at the age of 24, achieving over $500,000 in revenue before reaching the age of 25. He is an inspirational speaker, minister, a YouTuber with over 40,000 subscribers. You can find him on YouTube at Joshua H. Tate. Yes, don't forget the H, Joshua H. Tate, and with his family's YouTube page at Totally Tates. Joshua is also passionate about boxing. He is driven by Pastor Stevie Flockhart's quote that says, sometimes God allows us to see the miracle, but sometimes God allows us to be the miracle. Joshua's mission is to live an impactful life and leave a long-lasting legacy for him and his family. Joshua, welcome to the Transparent HR podcast. How are you today?
Man, Prince, I am doing wonderful today. Look, I want to tell you just first off, thank you for allowing me to be able to be on the first episode of the Transparent HR podcast.
Yes,
man,
yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, hey, thank you so much. Many people don't know, but you helped me do my first commercial, right?
Yes, I actually did.
So,
yes.
Yeah. And so we know that was an awesome, experience. And oftentimes when people look at it, they're like, wow, who did that for you? And I tell them, hey, my brother.
Yes, Halo Vision Media.
Yes, Halo Vision Media. So thank you so much just for stepping
no problem,
in.
Man.
I think it's important that we support each other. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm so glad that that's what you are doing today as well.
Yes. I'm excited to do it.
Yes. So let's get into our career quote of the day. The career quote that I selected today, it says, choose a career you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. We've heard this quote many times before, especially while I was in college. I heard this quote. And so hearing this quote, it really meant a whole lot to me. Like, hey, choose a career that really makes me excited to go to work every day. Choose a career. So that's it, for me. It was important that I just didn't select something. I wanted to be purposeful with this. And so, getting into my career, this quote, I was like, wait, I selected this career and I was really excited about it, but what's going on? And so, over time, I learned that there was a difference between choosing a career that you love and choosing a company, organization, or leader and or team that you work with that makes your career exciting and enjoyable. So when you think about this quote, what comes to mind for you?
Man, when I think about this quote, choose a career that you love and you never have to work again. The thing that comes to my mind, especially with me, being an entrepreneur, and the whole reason why I wanted to be an entrepreneur was the fact that I want to do something that I love to do. Because when you do something that you love to do, you don't worry about the money, you don't worry about the paycheck. When it's time, it's no clock in, clock out type thing. When you're focused and you love the career that you're in, like you're here. And the thing about it that I love is that that's what you're passionate about. So it really speaks to do something that you have passion for, because when you have passion for it, you're going to pour every single thing that you have, your time, your energy, and all of your resources into it. And so it's different than just working a job or just finding something to pay the bills,
9 to 5,
because something you're not passionate about.
Yeah, I really believe in, finding your passion. What is your purpose?
Yeah.
Not just your passion, but your purpose, because your purpose will help you move into passion. And so, for me, it's all about, getting into that. If you're doing something that you're really not passionate about, it will weigh you down. It really will. And you will question yourself. Now there are some moments that I believe that in your lifetime, there are moments where you have to focus on your finance, right? To help pay the bills, pay off those student loans. But, I think there's a point where you move from that and you get into that space of, man, this is really what I'm called to do. And to be honest, it's not going to be the easiest, but things will start, it'll just start lining up. And so,
it will.
So thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. During this segment, you're going to ask me questions versus me asking you questions. So we're going to take some time for individuals to learn about what this podcast is about, and even learn about, why did I choose to get into the my HR career, as well as, other questions that you may have. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you and let you take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take it away. And look, to start it off, man, we are here, the first episode of Transparent HR Podcast.
Yeah.
So the first question that I have for you, Prince, is, look, how did we get here? What was your preparation like? How long did it take? And did you expect, was it easy? Was it hard? Tell us, your expectation beforehand and what really happened.
So, man, hey, before I even thought about putting this podcast together, I really never knew or just never got deep into what a podcast is. I have a good friend. Her name is Danielle, and she would send me these podcasts, and I just started listening to them, and so not really paying attention to it. But one day I just woke up and had this vision of creating an HR podcast that's going to help people, not just in my city, but people across the US and even across the world. Just to help them, to get insights on HR strategies, to help them navigate the workplace and navigate their careers. And so when this thing first came into, once I saw this vision, I just stepped into it and I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't really know anything about podcasts, but I started doing some research. And so everything from, how to start a podcast, YouTube University was my go-to. YouTube University, just researching everything. Just researching everything. And, everything you see today is, something that I've researched, something that I've studied, looked into. And so, from cameras to, my studio, from the headphones to the microphone. But really, once I started doing, I was like, hey, I like this blue mic, so let me get it. But nevertheless, so yeah, I'm here, and it's been a long time coming. I've been working on this thing for about a year. And so we're finally here, and I'm so excited about it, man.
Man, well, look, I'm excited for you too. I am excited. And I'm actually, man, while you were saying, in the preparation time, I actually heard you mentioned a little bit of the reason why you had this desire. You said that you wanted to help people, right? You wanted
Right,
to help
absolutely.
people in HR. But specifically, the name of this podcast is called Transparent HR. So, like, for me, it's like,
Yeah.
why couldn't you just name it something as simple as the HR podcast? What is significant about transparent, right?
Yeah, well, we work in a society in a world where everything is so political and so
Yeah.
you have to
Mm-hmm.
be very diplomatic with everything. And
Mm-hmm.
even in the workplace setting, depending on your role, there are certain things that you can't say, you can't do, even though you may be thinking
Yeah.
it, right?
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
purpose of
Mm-hmm.
Transparent HR Podcast is to give individuals that insight into HR that we are not
Mm.
always able to share while we're in the
Yeah.
workplace. There are
Mm.
some certain moments in my career where I wish I could tell somebody, hey, don't do this, don't do that, or hey, these are some strategies
Yes.
to help you, whether that's going through the interview process or even just,
Yes.
maybe you're in a little trouble and so you're being investigated, right? There are certain things
Mm-hmm.
that you should not do. And so just having insight into that is going to help you navigate in the workplace and in your career.
Wow, look, that is awesome. That is awesome. And so with being like with this podcast and talking about the different topics that you want to help
Hmm.
the people who are tuning in, what would you say is your target audience? Who is this podcast for? So everyone can know, is this for the
Yeah.
employee? Is this for the employer? Who is this podcast for?
Yeah, so it's for anyone that's in the workplace. And I know it's
Mm-hmm.
so general, but I don't want to limit my audience, but anyone that's in the workplace, especially entry level employees who may not know which direction to take. Maybe this is your first
Yes. Mm-hmm.
career. Maybe this is your first job that you're going into, and I believe that it's good to get a career or find a job. But I think it's also important
Yes.
that you help maintain and keep that job, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's for those individuals who want to say, hey, I want to listen to something, maybe something that I don't know about HR, something that I don't know about the workplace. So it can also be for leaders as well. We
Yeah.
will have, leaders on here talking about leadership as well throughout the
Wow.
different seasons and episodes that we have. And so, anyone who want to listen in to the podcast and you think, hey, maybe I can learn something from this Transparent HR podcast and see what they're talking about. Hey, listen in. We'd love to
Yeah.
have you.
Man, that sounds like it's going to be some things that's in there to really benefit the people. So I'm definitely glad that that is your objective, and I'm definitely glad that you have started this podcast now with the different guests that's going to be on the show, right? So like
Hmm.
today, right? I'm Joshua. I'm not in human resources, right? But who will you have on here on this podcast in the different episodes that you're going to have? Who will be on there? Who will be the guest of this podcast?
Yeah, so we're gonna have. I'm focusing in first on the people that I know, and so HR
Yeah.
professionals that
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with or I have followed throughout my career that I really see
Yeah.
as influential leaders, HR leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely pulling on them, and then hopefully starting to reach out to other individuals across the U.S. as well as even possibly across the world. And so
Wow.
pulling on different individuals, but yeah, definitely focusing this first season with just utilizing my resources, the people that I know, right,
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
help
Yeah,
me
you have to.
with this thing. So yeah.
Man, that sounds good. Now, what would be the frequency of when you will post a new episode? Would it be weekly? Would it be monthly? What is the frequency that you'll be uploading new episodes for your viewers?
Yeah, so every other week, pretty much
Every.
two times in a month, and so that's my
Yes.
goal to do that. I don't want to get too overwhelmed with just starting out, but I think it's going
Yeah.
to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting with the every other week.
Wow, that sounds really good. That'll be, I think the frequency with me just, having my experience with doing YouTube and doing content creation,
Hmm.
that frequency will keep the viewers engaged. So
Yeah.
I definitely like the fact that, you're going to have a balance of giving them, updated content, but at the same time, making sure
Yeah.
that you don't have,
Yeah.
you don't get burnout by doing it too much. So enough of a podcast, right? Because, the podcast is great, but we need to know a little bit about you. What makes you the
Hmm.
person to have this HR transparent podcast? So tell us a little bit just about your journey on how you came into the career of human resources, and just tell us all about that.
Yeah. So Daniel Tate, or Prince Tate, if you want to, that's my host name. But I am a certified HR professional. And
Yes.
what that means is I took a certification test by a certified body organization that says, hey, this guy, at least he knows the basics. And so
Okay.
getting certified, but not only that, I've been in the HR field for about 6 years now, and just continuing to go, reaching leaps and bounds in my experience. I started
Yes.
off going into this field as an HR intern, making my
Yes.
way slowly through the different levels of HR, HR generalist. Then I had an
Mm.
opportunity to get promoted to HR business partner, which led me to an HR
Wow.
manager role that I worked in. And then now I'm an HR business partner again. And so, every
Mm.
organization, they are structured a little differently. And so,
Yes.
it, just as long as I'm able to be in a strategic role that really helps me and helps the organization to continue to grow and thrive, that's where I want to be. But yes, that's just a little bit of my experience related to
Yes.
the HR field.
Okay, great. Well, look, so on top of that, so you've been in the HR career field for, you said, approximately for 6 years, right? So
Yes.
with being in the career field for around 6 years, what can you say? Like, what are some of those skills that helped you stay in your career and stay in working HR for this long? What are some skills?
Well, not just skills, but I think that number one, if you want to be successful in any career, you have
Hmm.
to want to learn. You have to
Yes,
want
yes,
to
that's true.
put yourself out there. One thing that I
Hmm.
did throughout my entire career is I've always asked my leader, hey, what more can I do? What more can I learn? Can I
Mm.
just sit in? Can I listen in? Can I shadow? And I think that's
Wow.
very important, especially as you go
Hmm.
into your HR internship or just any internships period. It's important that you put yourself out there and you ask for more work. Asking for more
Wow.
work is not a
Yes.
skill. That's more of a desire to do more. And so
Yes.
when you do that, you get exposed to more, and more
Yes.
opportunities
That's
come to
right.
you.
Yeah.
Just a whole lot of exposure come within the organization, and so I think that's important, more so than skill. But I think that having whatever skills that you have, I won't say there's one certain skill that you need,
Yes.
but you should be able to use your skill set that you have. And even
Hmm.
what I like to call transferable skills.
Yes.
Maybe you've worked at, Pizza Hut, or you've worked, in a warehouse. So you can take
Yeah.
those transferable skills that you've learned from them, those roles that you've, your
Yes.
first
Uh-huh.
job roles that
Yes.
you
Yes.
were in, and use
Yes.
it for a professional setting, which I think that a lot of people don't use that, or they don't think about, oh my goodness, I don't have any professional experience. How could I get into a
Yes.
professional
Uh-huh.
role? Just focus on transferable skills and utilizing what you have. Typically, almost everybody has customer service experience. And so if you have customer
Yes.
service
Yeah.
experience, it can get you into a lot of roles.
Man, that is nice. I loved how you broke that down. Like, hey, it's not just the skills that had made you be this successful in your career, but it's also the other things that's not just skill, like work ethic, right? Work ethic.
Yeah,
Like,
work
man,
ethic.
you have
Yeah.
great work
Gotta have a
ethic. And
drive.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. That's great. Now, what do you find most challenging? We talked about, some of the things that you have done, but what do you find challenging? What is the most challenging aspect of working in HR for you?
The challenging aspect is, we in a lot of times in HR, you see both sides of the table, from the employee working as well as the
Yes.
leader managing the employee or their department. And sometimes, I want to be, because I see both sides, I want to be able to step in
Hmm.
sometimes and say, "Hey, this is how it's going to happen."
Yes.
But
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
being a strategic HR business partner or just being in HR, you have to have influence. And
Yes.
hopefully the leaders that you're supporting, you want to be influent, have enough influence to let them know, hey, I believe, you should do X, Y, and Z. And if you have great influence, those leaders will follow you. They will,
Yes.
take your advice, your recommendations, and they would, they will follow through on them. And so, sometimes, you want to get into it and, go to the department and just kind of get things in order. But it
Yes.
takes one who is very thoughtful, strategic, as well as, just have great influence in the organization to really help departments and people build their relationships with each other a little bit much better.
Wow, man. Well, look, speaking of, I heard you say in there, you briefly mentioned just a little bit of like, some good things about working in human resources and the impact that you can have while being in the HR career. Now, I'll ask you this question. What do you enjoy most about your work in the HR field?
Yeah, one thing that we do, that I've always done, is
Yes.
check on our employees or the building, or wherever I'm at. I always love going into the units, the departments, and just showing my face,
Yes.
being visible, building
Hmm.
relationships. Oftentimes people
Yes.
think, oh, I should only build relationships with key stakeholders. No, I think,
Yeah.
building
Hmm.
relationships with secretaries, assistants, coordinators, individuals in
Yes.
doing the job, I think is important as well. So I would go out, check on them. Where I'm at right now, we call it HR rounding. And
Yes.
so, getting the opportunity to go ask questions, talk with the employees and say, hey, how are you doing today? A lot of HR professionals don't do that
Yes.
today. But to be
Hmm.
honest, every time I do it, employees, they would ask me, uh, is something going on? I'm like, no, I'm just checking in on you.
Yes, just
And to
checking
be
in.
honest, they'll let me know, hey, this is, I've never had this happen before. It's just
Yeah,
great to
wow.
be able to talk to my HR representative without being in trouble. And so,
Yes,
that I really enjoy that. I really enjoy helping people where I can,
yes,
where I'm able to. There are opportunities where we can give grace, and so, I love being able to do that, as well as focusing on employee engagement. I love being
mm,
able to, go out to the
yes,
department. Maybe their manager or another team member in the organization nominated them for a
yes.
culture award or employee of the
Wow,
month,
mhm.
and I really love just going in, where they are, and just being a part of that atmosphere and just celebrating our employees. I really, really love doing that as well.
Wow, well, it definitely seems like you really love what you are doing. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, for someone who's watching right now, and they may be like, hearing you talk about your journey and hearing you talk
Hmm.
about human resource, right? They might be considering, like, hey, I might want to get into human resources. What would be some advice that you would give one of your viewers right now who's thinking, I want to see how I can, enter into the career of human resources? What advice would you give them?
Well, number one, I will say this: if you are in college, or you've graduated, or you're going back to school, I would say get an internship, not
Mm,
just in the HR field, but I
mm,
think that, getting an internship in whatever career that you want to go into is really important.
Yes.
Now, I really believe that when you go to your internship, that take that opportunity to learn as much as you can. Take
Yeah.
that moment, take that opportunity and, just run with it. Don't wait for people to ask you to do
Yes.
things, turn
Hmm.
your, assignments or whatever you have to do, complete your task in early and on time. But that would be the
Yes.
number one step I would say is get you an HR intern, get you an internship. I
Get you
will
an
also
internship.
say that, it's important for employers to realize that, when you bring people in to do a job, even if it's an
Hmm.
internship, they should get paid.
Hmm.
I really disagree with organizations who do not pay and just pay them the minimum wage.
Yeah. At
That's
least
the
something,
least you can do.
right?
Something, there are organizations that do pay, and some of them pay very well for internship
Yes.
roles, but there are some that don't. So I would just say, they have a life, they have bills to take care of, just like you and I, and so we should take that
Yeah.
opportunity. But not only that, give them real work to do. Give them
Yeah.
real work to do.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm not going to college just to learn how to make copies in a print for a printer. I'm not going to college just to
Yeah.
go learn your favorite latte so I could pick it up every morning. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's hey,
that's
that's good.
just, yeah, those are just a couple things that really irks me sometimes when organizations have interns. But if you have to
Yeah.
take an unpaid internship, take it anyways, because that is the
Yes.
difference from you working in that internship 3 months, which will help you get into the career that you want to get into, or get that job that you want to get. So number
Yes.
one step is HR internship. Number two,
Internship.
if you want to get into this field, and let's just say you're not in college, you want to look at your organization application board. You want to make sure that, hey, do they have uh, HR opportunities? Do they have entry
Yeah.
level opportunities? And sometimes it's
Mm.
not just applying for the job, but it's also building relationships, networking, right?
Yes.
You have
Hmm.
to
Yes.
get
You.
to that
Yeah.
place where you are meeting individuals, you are putting yourself in
Yes.
front of people
Hmm.
who's already in the role, in the position, in the field, so that you can learn from them. um, the
Yes.
next step too is maybe you also want to get a mentor or a coach. Everybody
Mm.
may not be a mentor,
Yes.
but
That's
individuals may
key.
be coaches for a short period of time, and so they can coach you on, hey, these are some steps that you should take, depending on your situation. So I
Yes.
would say do that as well. And then once you get into the field, then the sky's the limit. You can
Hmm.
do, you can get very specific into the role that you want to do, whether that's benefits, whether that's development, or whether that's employee relations or recruiting. And so,
Yes.
once you get the job, you'll be able to dive deep into, which area of HR that you want to do. But don't be so specific in the beginning to where
Mm.
you just move everything out the way and say, no, I don't want to do recruiting, so I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do employee relations, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to apply for that. Just apply, because I thought I
Hmm.
was going to be a recruiter. But hey, I'm
Wow.
doing employee relations, and I'm a HR business partner. And so you just
Yes.
never know. So be open to where life will take you, man.
Yes, that is some great advice. I can truly say that is some great advice for someone out there, who's wanting to take that next step into their HR career. Man,
Hmm.
like literally, I feel like today, like if I didn't know anything today, I have learned some things that can
Yeah.
help me start a career in human resources. So great
Yeah.
advice, Prince. Now, before we head out, I will have one more question for you. This is episode 1. What should
Yes,
our
it is.
viewers be looking forward to in episode 2 of the Transparent HR podcast?
Man, episode 2 is all about learning more about the HR field.
Mm,
If you're interested in becoming or getting into the HR industry, you want to listen to the second episode. Not only that, if you're
Yes.
not in HR and you just want to listen what HR is about, how did it develop? How did it come into play? What is,
Yes.
our job duties are, actually is. Because I think there's a lot of people have misconceptions of what HR is and what we do.
Yes.
People think we
Yes.
just hire and fire. That's not only what we do. We
Yeah.
do so much more, And
Yes.
so if you want to learn more about the HR industry and what we're doing, come to the second episode.
Man, that sounds great. I definitely know that I will be there on that second episode to hear more about HR, because truly, Daniel, I can say, Prince, before you entered into human resource, I had no clue what they did.
You know
I had
who? You know
no
who else?
clue.
You know who else don't know anything about HR?
Who?
Steve Harvey. I was
That's a
watching
good
Family
one. That's
Feud, and he was like, somebody said, "I'm an HR professional." He was like, "Huh?" And they was like, "Hey, human resources."
human resource.
And he was like, "What they do?" So when
Well,
you're
yeah.
a superstar, you don't have to worry about HR. But
No,
if you're working
yes.
9 to 5, yeah, hey, you want to know
you
what HR
have
is,
to.
man.
Yes. Well, look, man, this was a great conversation, Prince, and I'm just going to hand it back over to you, man, and let you carry us on out. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. One of the next things that we will jump into in our in this podcast is transparent moments. Those are
Yes.
spaces and opportunities where listeners can ask questions. You can submit questions early. So if you're listening right now and you have a question about the HR industry, maybe you need some career tips, or you are going through some employee relation issues, submit your question, submit your scenario, and we will have our guest, as well as myself, to help answer that question and walk you through on what you should do or what we would do if we were in your shoes.
Nice.
And so we definitely, the episodes that we have next, we will definitely go into that. What I want to do as well is introduce what we call our just giving an encouraging Bible verse. And so the encouraging Bible verse that we have for today's episode comes from Galatians 6:9, which reads, "Let us not become weary in well doing, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And so what I want to say for those of you that are listening in is, maybe you are in a career that you may not want to be in anymore. I will say this: be encouraged today. I want you to be encouraged, because if you keep working to your goal, if you keep working to that thing that you're working on, you will see a harvest. It's going to come into fruition. You just have to believe it. So I want you to be encouraged. What other encouragement you have for them, Josh?
Man, I would definitely just encourage him, even with that scripture, when it comes to, you feel like you may be at a job that you may not like, but I want to also just add in one more verse, Romans 8:28, where it says that, and we know that all things work together for good. And you see, if you continue to push, if you continue to press, if you continue to work and not faint, not give up, you're going to see how it's all going to work together for your good.
Trust me, it's going to work in your favor. You just got to keep pushing,
Yes.
See it through, and you'll see the benefits from it. So, hey, that's all that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining. Just remember, every other week we're going to be posting episodes. So just tune in. Again, if you have questions that you have for me or the guests that come onto the show, make sure you submit your question, and we'll answer your question related to the topic that we're discussing for that day. Just remember to follow, subscribe, share, do all those things that you normally hear on YouTube and all that stuff. But we want to make sure that you are getting the resources, the help that you need to be successful in your career. And then hopefully one day we can get sponsored and get some sponsors in here to help with the finances. But nevertheless, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.